I'm Matt Mueller. I'm the COO of Hudl. I've been at Hudl for about 10 years. I think it's 10 years today is my 10-year anniversary. So not looking for any applause around that or anything, just more nodding to my boss who's sitting in the back. I've seen Hudl grow a lot, but one of the ways that we learn a lot and that we get really excited is when we get our users together, because we learn so much from you guys. We take a lot of time at Hudl learning how you use our software, but even more than that, what are you trying to get out of it? What things do you want to learn? What questions are you trying to answer? And how can we help you be more efficient? And so we spend a lot of time, and the reason we have 26 different people here from our team is to learn from you all. So while this is a great opportunity for you to learn from other people in the room, please come talk to us. Help us learn. What are your philosophies? How are you thinking about using sports code or Hudl, or how are you trying to communicate to your athletes, or what trends are you seeing in the industry that you say, hey Hudl, you all should be jumping on this, or you guys are really behind on this piece. We've got David Graff as our CEO and John Wirtz, who's our Chief Product Officer in the back. You guys want to raise your hands? Those guys founded Hudl 11 years ago and are both here to learn from you. So please make sure you walk by and introduce yourselves. They have spent a lot of time thinking about how to connect with our users, and they're here to learn, along with Kyle Murphy's our VP of Design is in the back over here on the right. And Tiago, who's our VP of Sales for Americas. Tiago, you want to raise your hand in the back? So lots of people here from Hudl, and then we've got, I know Mike mentioned a whole crew of our entire elite team here in the US, our sales team and our support team is all here. So if you have questions or just want to know very specific things about sports code or Hudl or how we're thinking about our product, please let us know. You're going to get a lot of rundown of some of the features we're building and some of the enhancements we're making later today. I won't spend too much time on those, but I want to take a chance to walk through a little bit about Hudl. Mike mentioned this. 2 years ago, we acquired Sports Tech, and really when we saw that, we saw it as a merger of those two companies, of Hudl and Sports Tech, coming together, and we saw so much opportunity in being able to provide a unified solution that really helps every team, every athlete win, right? And so when you talk about Hudl, we build software, we help teams and athletes win. This is what we do. It's what gets us out of bed every morning, what gets us fired up. And so when we think about how we can, what product should we build, or how should we address a problem, we always ask ourselves, will this help teams and athletes win? There's a lot of ways to define winning, right? It might be getting an athlete recruited to the next level, or getting somebody signed to a professional contract, or it might mean winning your conference championship, or it might mean improving your record from being a 2-win team one year to a 10-win team the next year, right? And so when we look at those things, we again come back to how do we help teams and athletes win? That's really our passion, what gets us out of bed every day. One of the unique things about Hudl is that we have products for every level of competition and really every sport. We serve 37 different sports worldwide. We serve everything from the most elite organizations, right? You all in the room, as well as teams across Europe, across Asia and Australia. But we serve all the way down to high schools and youth teams, right? You probably know this. If you're in college athletics, you've probably received Hudl highlight films. If you talk to your American football programs at your university, there's a 100% chance that they use Hudl. And I can back that up by saying every single team logs in and uses our product. Because we have 99% of high school football teams in the US use our product. So we are growing very quickly in the high school space, in the competitive club space as well. When you look at some of our deals, and we'll talk about them here in a little bit, one of the unique things about Hudl is because we serve every level, we look for ways to connect the chains, not only in recruiting and in talent identification, so how can you find the best athletes earlier, but we also want to serve club athletics, we want to serve basketball, hockey, soccer, pull those things through, and then move that to a great analysis product in the elite space that can help tell a whole life story for an athlete, but gives you a chance to help track and watch the progression and movement through their system or through their life cycle. From a Hudl perspective, just to give you some vanity stats, none of these things really matter, but they're just fun things to say, right? We have 4.5 million app downloads. So lots of people download our apps and use them, and almost 6 million active users on our platform. So when we think about scale at Hudl, when we think about building product, or when we think about connecting with our users, we often think about how can we build something that is elite enough that it serves your needs, but scales and grows so that we can deliver this to every athlete across the world. And when you look at where we want to be in 2025, we want to capture and bring value to every moment in sports. So we want Hudl to be ubiquitous. When you think about video and analysis, you just jump into your Hudl platform and we have the whole suite of tools built for you, whether it's Sports Code or Hudl or our Technique app, which many of you have used for some individual analysis. We have over 150,000 teams. I gave you some of these numbers. 98% of high school, or it's 99% now of high school football teams. We've got basically about 65% of high school basketball teams, both boys and girls, using us. So we've got a great high school presence and growing in the club space as well. And again, we serve about 37 sports around the world. Everything from our core sports, what we'll call, right, American football, basketball, soccer, volleyball, rugby, ice hockey, but down into sports like high or netball, which I hadn't spent a lot of time on until over these last couple of years. We've actually got about over 630 employees. We've got offices in 14 countries. The employee number is great. It means we have a huge development team, but we also have a huge team that's built to help us cover off on a lot of different opportunities. But why I think this is important is we can help you learn and connect you across the world to really anybody you want to speak with, right? So if there's people you think are doing something interesting in the UK or in Australia, we have connections with all of these teams, and they're interested in connecting with coaches here in the US. So we're happy to facilitate those connections. We want to facilitate those connections because, as Mike said, and he mentioned this already, you can learn a lot from another basketball coach. You can learn a lot from another soccer coach, but often it's the cross-sport pollination that can actually be really interesting. And then you can take that one layer further if you move into how does sport culturally different in Europe or in France or in Australia. We do an annual meeting with our team. We bring our entire team together. We do it here in Vegas every year. It was just about, a month ago, I guess. We were here I think we were actually in the room right across the hall. So we had 600 employees together here, but we actually do a sales and support meeting a little bit separate of that in advance, where we have our team get together and we try to set up sessions where we have representatives from really across the world get up and talk about things that they're doing or trends that they're seeing in sport. And it's really interesting what you take away from it. For me, I almost learn more from our people in Europe or from Australia because it's just so different, right? I get to talk to Evan and Mike every day, I don't beat up Evan every day, but it's a couple times a week at least. I'm pinging him about something. Usually it's college football recruiting, but we spend a lot of time learning from each other. But it's interesting to hear how sport is working across the world, and so we have a global reach. Let us help you reach that, right? I know you all have your own networks, but we can help with that too, and we're happy to make those connections. Just reach out to us and let us know, and we'd be happy to connect you with people across the world on that. When we think about Hudl, and we said this already, we really think about Hudl as the industry standard. It is the platform for performance analysis across the world. And just take a look at some of these things, right? 29 of the 30 NBA teams, 100% of the English Premier League, basically every major soccer club across the world uses our product. So what's exciting about that, right, is we're learning from everybody, and we have massive amounts of inputs coming in, right? 150,000, more than that, teams using Hudl and Sports Code and giving us feedback and teaching us and telling us, hey, here's how we're looking at analysis. But it also means that you are using the best platform, and we are investing in continued learning and education around that. So part of this for you is learning from each other, right? And part of it is taking our team and saying, we've seen best practices, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, on how your output report should look, or what types of data that we've seen make an impact for teams and how you can apply that to your day-to-day life. But we have just massive reach, right? So when we're talking about rugby or Australian rules football, we have 100% of those teams in these major leagues, and they use our product, and it is every day that they're in Sports Code and Hudl. And it's really changing the way that we've thought about building things, right? It's building at a global scale, but it's also changed the way we deliver information. And so from a Hudl perspective, we come back and say, how can we help you when we are the industry standard? What are the things that we can do to help change your world, right? And say, we have these inputs coming in from everywhere. Please feed us that information so that we can learn and adapt, but also tap us and help us teach for you. Some of you may have noticed over the last year we've started to talk about Hudl as so much bigger than just how many licenses of Sports Code do you have. And it's really a change that we like to spend a lot of time on. We think Sports Code and Hudl should be just a tool that you use no matter where everybody in your organization should use, right? So your coaches, your athletes, want your front office using this. And maybe not everybody's coding in the same world, but we really think of Hudl as your platform. It is the solution, and we're going to continue to build on and add to it. But an exciting piece of that is we can start to add other pieces to that solution. So a couple things I wanted to take some time to talk about. We signed a deal recently, a year ago, I guess, at this point, with U.S. Soccer, with the U.S. Soccer Development Academy. So what's really exciting about that is the U.S. Soccer boys program this year, or during this last year, they have filmed every one of their matches and used Hudl and Sports Code to analyze that film, and then have all of that stored online as in Hudl. So their athletes have that to make highlights. Their coaches have that for teaching their players and analyzing their performance. The heads of U.S. Soccer have that for talent identification, and they can talk about tracking athletes from a U12 team and seeing how they're performing, seeing how their performance objectives for improving that athlete have enhanced that athlete's performance on the pitch over the course of a year. And then colleges can start to have access to that film in the recruiting platform to say, hey, we have what was 95% of male athletes that received college scholarship offers came through the U.S. Development Academy last year. So we have all of that film available for coaches inside of our system. And U.S. Soccer is excited because they suddenly have their athletes, their team, on one unified platform that allows them to communicate, to share their coaching philosophies or things that they want to press at all levels through the organization. They can do it in one spot, and it's on the leading platform for worldwide development. And when we look at that for the U.S. Soccer, so we're adding the girls programs to it this year, which we're really excited about. Obviously, it gives us more teams, but it gives us a reach into the entire U.S. Soccer program. As a soccer fan, I'm excited because hopefully we'll continue to see the level of soccer develop and grow in the U.S. As a Hudl fan, I'm excited because we have a big client that we can speak about. But from a why you all should be excited about this, it's more than just Hudl and Sports Code. It's about building a unified platform where they can store all of their film together. It's one repository that they have access to. You're not worried about Dropbox. You're not worried about a hard drive stored off somewhere. They've got one place they can go to at anywhere they are in the world and access that on their phone, on their laptop, on their iPad, and have access to what games just happened or what matches just happened yesterday or what matches happened a year ago to track a player through the growth in the system. And it's really going to start to change the way that talent development is handled by U.S. Soccer. But we think it's going to start to unlock and change the way that talent development happens in sports outside of U.S. Soccer as well, because we will have a platform that you all can access to look at and evaluate athletes as they grow in our system. Same thing with U.S. Rugby. USA Rugby used essentially one license of Sports Code, and we've grown and with them now, and now they have Sports Code at all levels of the organization, and the same kind of structure as U.S. Soccer. We built out a system with them where all the matches are filmed. They upload into Hudl. There's an exchange where everybody has access to each other's film. But we can code the games. We can give you access to that from a rugby talent identification platform. And for USA Rugby, they're very excited about the ability to have one centralized system that has their film and gives them access to it across the world. Again, for us, it's not about hey, we built this cool platform. For us, it's about building a cool solution that really met the needs of our users. And we went and said, what are the ways that we can impact you? How can we help you? What reports would you like to see in sports code? Like, let's sit down and help you build those. What are the pieces of information you'd want to track, and how would you share that for your athletes? And at the end of the day, how do you want to access this content? Do you want to have hard drives passed around? Do you want to maybe take limited subsets of content? Or is it about bringing together a solution that you can access anywhere and have that all stored together? So those are two of our many partnerships we've signed in the last year, but that we think are really exciting to us because it unlocks some key pieces, unwind everything I've said, that are really exciting, right? We have an exchange platform where you can access your film anywhere in the world. We've got talent identification coming, so you can start to track athletes from a very young age, which is important to some of you in recruiting and talent identification, all the way through what we say is their high school development into the time where they're ready to move into collegiate or professional careers. We've got customized sports code reports that we can come on site and build with our experts. Our customer success team can come work with you to build better reports than maybe you've ever had before and help you answer the questions that you want to answer. And we can do it all in one central platform, right? Sports Code Hudl into our exchange platform. We have everything in one platform for you, so you don't have to think about piecemealing together a solution that kind of works and maybe get some things done. And so we've got a great platform built for you that really can change the way you think about video, performance analysis, communication with your team, messaging, and sharing information. And that's something we're really excited about. A couple things we'll hit on here. So I've spent a lot of time talking about Hudl and Sports Code. Those are probably the two products you're most familiar with. We've got a lot of other products that we've built at Hudl with an engineering team of 250. It's a really fun asset to have. We get to build a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of really fun stuff that can change our teams and our users' lives. And so Sideline, we've talked about here before, I think, but to talk about it here for a second, Sideline is a product we built for American football first. In high school American football, they have actually allowed instant replay on the sideline. So if you go to a high school football game this year, I can't imagine many of you will, but if you do, you'll see coaches often on the sideline watching video in between plays or in between series. And they might have the offense huddled around actually watching on an iPad. In the NFL, they can watch flat pictures. In high school, they can watch video. So we built a product that's now in use by over a third of high school football teams across the nation, where they're actually live streaming video from Hudl straight down onto the bench and pushing that video down and having that accessible. We've actually got a product that we'll call Courtside that I think many of the NBA teams are testing right now here at Summer League. That's actually doing the same thing. We can actually live push video from Sports Code with your codes, with your tags, all onto an iPad or onto a Surface. And you can have access to that. And if you're interested in checking that out, we have lots of demos of that available. So you can see how that interfaces just with your workflow. And so one of the most important things when we talk about this is, how do we not disrupt what you're doing? When we look at what you're doing day to day, we don't want to add more work. We actually want to simplify your workflow. Let's integrate everything with your sports code workflows that you do already, and how can we improve those pieces of work for you? And with that, I'll talk about Hudl Assist. So one of the really interesting things we started to do about 2 years ago is actually break down game film. And so when we looked at this and we talked with a lot of teams, we saw, both on Sports Code and in Hudl, we saw some really interesting things from teams that knew the value of analysis. They knew the value of these output reports, what they could get or what things they wanted to learn, but they just didn't want to sit down and go through the effort of coding a game, right? They didn't want to go through the hours that it would take to work through it. And many of you are doing that now, or many of you have done it before and handed that responsibility off to somebody else, the effort of coding. And so what we have done now is said, we understand that an analyst job, there's so much that all of you are doing, right, every day when you're talking about helping teams with video and pushing out the right content to teams and helping get to maybe that next layer of analysis, that sometimes you don't want to go through the basic work of just tagging every time a shot was made in a game, right? Or every time a pass was made. And so we actually have started to train a whole team of analysts We've now got a few hundred of them trained that can actually code games for you and turn it around within 24 hours. We've done this at all levels, so we're doing it for some professional soccer leagues in Europe. We've done it for American football. We did it for over 125,000 basketball games at the high school and collegiate level last year. We're excited to continue to roll that service out even further. So we've got a lot of really powerful tools that we can offer to you. And if you're interested in how we can help you with that, hit us up, because we'd be able to talk about whether it fits into our basic packages or whether there's some customization we'd have to do. But we're really excited about continuing to grow this service. We've got a team that'll break down right around 380,000 games this year. So we're gonna code a lot of games on football, basketball, soccer, volleyball, hockey. But we're excited, lacrosse also. But we're excited to continue to grow that offering. And again, it's something that's all about saving time and fitting into your current workflows. And the last piece I'll touch on here, how many of you have used Hudl Technique or UberSense? Have any of you used that before? Evan, I'd hope you had. I appreciate you raising your hand. Okay, so Hudl Technique is a free app that integrates with Hudl. You use your Hudl account, but it's all about individual performance analysis, right? So it's about maybe you're working on shooting technique of an athlete. We started on it with golf. So for any of you that are working on your golf game, I need a lot of help on my golf game. It's all about the individual placement, and so we've got really tight frame-by-frame tools that are built in to help you with hip positioning or your elbow position as you move on your golf swing. And you can do side-by-side video, really tight illustration tools, frame-by-frame analysis. It's in the App Store for iOS and Android. It's called Technique. It integrates really nicely, and it's a great coaching tool to pair with Hudl and Sports Code if you're trying to work on individual technique with an athlete, or if you're looking at how their body's positioned. It can be a nice way for you to just work with them really quickly and put it away, because outside of the very expensive cameras you buy, for you as an individual person, the best camera you'll probably ever own is probably in your iPhone, right? It's pretty incredible how far the cameras have come there and what you can do with that. So we're really excited about Technique and how we can continue to integrate that as a coaching tool for our teams moving forward. We're going to hit on a few things and I won't steal too much time because you'll get a deeper look at these. But last year, 2 years ago actually, I stood up here right after the acquisition and said, we have a vision of Hudl and Sports Code coming together. We have a long way to go to get there, but really we see this as one unified platform that we're really excited about. And over the last year, we really pushed on this and built in a lot of these features. And Ford's actually going to talk about this later today, so I won't steal a lot of his thunder. But this is a shot of what Hudl can look like for you now. Bringing together your sports code, all of your sports code information, your Hudl information. We've got amazing filters, so you can filter down to a playlist that you want. And you can do it across multiple games very quickly. So imagine being able to database across an entire season in a matter of seconds. You can do that through Hudl, download that video back down, and have that accessible to you in sports code right away. So we've built a tool to give you the ability to take databasing across multiple years of video without even having to spend, without having to go through and pull it together into one file. Really remove and simplify remove some of the pain points and simplify your workflows to make you more efficient at your job. And the nice thing is, you can see we've got all of your tags, so you can filter off of your data. This is not Hudl's information. These will be your codes that are coming in, and you can filter across those. And so we've really built and said Hudl and Sports Code coming together gives you that platform where now you can search and sort across multiple seasons or across multiple years as you're looking at athletes or looking at game planning. We're really excited about that. We also have released better document sharing. And I think many of you saw this with permissioning, so you can share game plans or scouting reports or just other forms that you need to share out to your team, all through Hudl securely. So you can limit who has access to it. You can see who has access to it. And then again, they're available across mobile devices, on the web. So you have access to all of these, any different platform, and whatever is best for you to reach your coaches, your management, your users, you have the ability to do that, customize and reach them directly. And again, Ford will talk about that later, but it's something we're really excited to be able to deliver to you all as Hudl becomes your platform for reaching and communicating with your team. We spent a lot of time on sports code. over this last year. And Dan's going to talk a little bit about not only some of the things that we've released, but also some of the upcoming features that we're excited about. But just to give you a quick hit on some of the things, so version 11, we're excited about where that put us in terms of the ability to build forward. I think when I stood up in front of everyone last year, for those of you that were here and heard me speak or have talked to our team, I'm sure over the course of the last year, version 10 of Sports Code was great, but it had some rough edges. And I know I see some people snickering, maybe that's too polite, but it had some rough edges that we spent time smoothing and getting into a really good spot. But the nice thing is that version 11 is really built to let us move forward faster and build on top of that. And so we can continue to release features now in version 11 that are actually architected to help us accelerate sports code development even faster than we were already at. I know I said this stat last year, but in the 12 months prior to the acquisition, Sports Tech had released 10 updates. Essentially since that acquisition, we have released an update about every 2 weeks. So there are features coming out, bug fixes coming out, enhancements coming out to sports code. And so we continue to believe that sports code is really one of the key centerpiece of your workflow and a centerpiece of what we spend our time on at Hudl. And we have our engineering team really building out and delivering lots of value here. So you've seen some of those enhancements come out over the last year, right? Faster export. So for any of you that are taking video outside of sports code and pushing it to other systems, we've enhanced that by an amazing amount. So now you can take what was in multiple hours or sometimes day-long workflow to export video down to minutes, which is something we're excited about. We started to support 1080p video and a stacked layer as well. So you can toggle between 1080p feeds. So as you want to push higher quality video into sports code, you no longer have to downcode it to 720 to use it. So we were excited about that. We talked about improved Hudl integration already. And the Bluetooth remotes, how many of you seen the Bluetooth remotes? Anybody? So the Bluetooth remotes are awesome. They're just your normal Cowboys, except they're wireless. They have a longer battery life, and they work with your mobile devices and with sports code, and they're cheaper. So all of those things are a big win for you all. So if you are interested in remotes, talk to your team. I'm guessing we have at least one or two around here somewhere that we could show off and show you how they integrate. Yeah. We're looking at how we can customize that stuff inside to match that. We're just looking at what's the right blend and right level of complexity there. But it is something, customizing Bluetooth is, we know we've heard that from some of our teams to say like, hey, look, they've got the very specific workflow of how they like the button layout or how things to work. So that is something we're looking at. And then the 1080p is larger. I'm not sure the size. One of our support guys would be able to tell you because it's just more video, right? But it is larger, but I'm not sure on to what scale at this point. But somebody from our support team could probably give you the exact specs. Those are great questions. We talked about courtside too. So there's going to be more time for sports code questions too. So if you have those and specifics, then I can make sure people follow up. Courtside I mentioned earlier, but we're really excited about the ability to integrate into your sports code workflow to have that live on the bench or on the pitch ability to view video on a tablet, on a mobile device. So whether it's Surface or iOS, it'll be the same experience on both. And we'll be able to deliver some really cool stuff. And Kyle Dieterny is going to talk about that later today, so I'll let him speak to that. We also I've talked about Recruit for football. I've kind of mentioned it here or there, but we've rolled out our basketball product for Recruit. You have access to, in our basketball product, you can see all of our high school film as well as all of our club teams. Jason West is going to talk about it later today, but Jason, I think we had the top 200 recruits. We had at least a couple games on all the top 200 boys and girls recruits in our system from this current recruiting cycle. So we have a depth of film and a breadth of film that really reaches wider than everyone. We're getting out to more tournaments. We have more film in our system. So if you're interested in taking a look at it, you'll notice it's really going to be the same or a similar experience to what you're seeing with Hudl, right? You've got codes along the bottom. You've got the ability to filter and find specific athletes. You can also look at GPAs or transcripts if they have those in the system. We've got all kinds of filters and ways for you to find the athletes that you're looking for. But we're rolling this out for other sports as well, right? So our plan would be to roll this out for soccer and volleyball and lacrosse and hockey over the course of the next year so that you have access to all of this film as we continue to grow our presence deeper in those sports and across club sports. We'll have access to that film, and Hudl will be the spot you go for not only your performance analysis, but for your talent identification. We see this already in American football, and we're excited about where we could grow with this over the course of the next year as we move forward. So, and again, Jason will talk about that later today. And one of the things, I'll touch on this again later, that I've mentioned here, we've really taken a chance over this course of this last year to spend more time with our customers in a different way. Not just here's how you use sports code, here's how you code a report. Great, see you guys later. What we've really tried to do is say, hey, we have an amazing team in-house. How about we work together to build something even more effective for you than you've had? So how can you use our team, or how can we leverage the experience we have on our customer success team, our elite team, to really say, how can we build out these incredible reports? And we'll take a look at some of them later on. So we actually have within our team now people who are experts at building out output reports with teams, right? So we'll go on site and say, what are the things you want to do, and how can we make it look and feel amazing, right? Because you only have so many minutes a day or a week to show your team something, and if we can make that information delivery that much more crisp and concise, or look that much sharper, we found teams really, and especially athletes, will really grab onto that even more effectively. So we spent a lot of time saying, how can we work with our customers to leverage our team in-house? And we have a huge resources, not only on product, but on our design team, and on our support team, right, our customer success team, our education teams, that are looking at ways we can build customized output reports to deliver that. Dan's team has been leading most of that, and I know he sweats bullets right now as we talk about how many teams are coming in and we build out the team around that. But if it is something you're interested in, looking at how we can help you build even more polished output reports or things that we've seen work really well, come find us. We're happy to work with you on that and build that in, and we're really excited to continue to offer that service to more of our teams. So I've hit on Hudl, I've hit on Sports Code, I've hit on a handful of our other products that you're going to hear about later today. I've hit about our growth. We continue to push deeper into Sports Code and into Hudl. We're looking to learn from you all, and we think we have a lot we can offer you, both from a learning and education standpoint, but also just from how we can improve your workflows day to day. We're excited to spend a few days here with you, and we look forward to learning from you more over the next couple of days. If you have anything, again, I'm Matt. But there's a whole boatload of Hudl people here, and we're all happy to meet with you and work with you on stuff. Thanks for your time this morning, and I hope you have a great conference. Thanks, everyone.